The strength is the ability of a material of resist externally applied force with breakdown or yielding. The stiffness is the ability of a material to resist deformation under stress. True. The ability of a material to resist fracture due to high impact load is called toughness. The ability of a material to resist fracture due to high impact load is called toughness. The property of a material which enable it to retain the deformation permanently is called plasticity. The property of a material which enable it to retain the deformation permanently it is called plasticity. The ductility is the property of a material due to which it draw into a wire. The malleability is a property of a material due to which it can be rolled, hammered into thin sheet. Agree. Which of the following property is desirable for material used in tool and machining? Elasticity. Which of the following property is desirable for a material used in a tool and machining? Plasticity. The property of material necessary for forging in stamping image on coin and in ornamental work is plasticity. Which of the following property is desirable in part subject to shock or impact? Toughness. The property of a material initial for spring material resilience. The toughness of a material dash when it is heated decrease. The toughness of material decrease when it is heated. Which of the following material has maximum ductility? Mild steel. Brittle material when subject to tensile load snap off without giving any sensible elongation. Yes, the property of a material due to which it break with a little permanent distortion is called brittleness. The property of a material due to which it is break with a little permanent distortion it is called brittleness. The hardness is the property of a material due to which it and cut another material. Cast iron is a ductile material. Wrong. Which of the following material has maximum malleability? Lead. Lead material has the maximum malleability. The ability of a material to absorb energy in a plastic range is resilience. The malleable is a property of a material by virtue of with a material can it roll and hammered into a thin sheet. The ability of material the undergo large permanent deformation with the application of a tensile force it is called ductility. The ability of a material to undergo large permanent deformation with the ability of a tensile force it is called ductility. The stiffness is the ability of a material to resist deformation under stress. The stiffness is the ability of a material to resist deformation under stress. Iron ore is usually found in a form of oxide, carbonate and sulfates. The iron ore mostly used for the product of pig iron hematite. The iron ores mostly used for the production of pig iron is hematite. Hematite iron ores contain iron 70%. Blast furnace is used to produce pig iron. Smelting is a process to reduce the ore with carbon in a presence of a flux. The approximate height of a blast furnace is 30 meter. Approximate internal dia of blast furnace is about 9 meter. The portion of the blast furnace above its widest cross section is called skates. The portion of the blast furnace below its widest across in it is called Bosch. The charge of the blast furnace constant calcinate ores 8 part, coal 4 part, limestone 1 part. The in charge is fed into the blast furnace through a throat. In the lower part of the blast furnace, the temperature is 1200 centigrade to 1300 centigrade. In the middle part of the blast furnace, the temperature is 800 से 1000 degree Celsius. The temperature is the upper part of the blast furnace is less than the middle part. The fuel used in a blast furnace is coal. Coal is the charge of the blast furnace supply heat and reduce ore and melt the iron. The iron ore is the charge of blast furnace act as a iron bearing minerals. True. The limestone is charge of a blast furnace decompose to given lime and carbonates the lime through the from a slug by content with impurities. The slug from blast furnace is used for blast bullets for railroads in mix with a tar for making roads consists calcium, aluminum and ferrous silicates. Is iron. The presence of a carbon is free from is called graphite. Agree. The carbon in a pig iron varies for 1 to 5%. The cupola is used to manufacturing cast iron. Free carbon in iron make the metal soft and given coarse grain crystal structure. Combined carbon is make the metal hard and given the fine grain structure crystalline structure. The percentage of a carbon in cast iron is 1.7 to 4.5. Iron Cast iron is manufactured in cupola furnace. Cast iron is a brittle material. Cast iron is used in those part which is subjected to shocks. Wrong. Cast iron has a high compressive strength, excellent machinability, good casting characteristics. The steel scrap added into charge of cupola controls to grade the cast iron produced. Correct. The compressive strength of a cast iron more than its tensile strength. Silicon in a cast to make a iron soft and easy machinability. Sulfur in cast iron increase hardness and brittleness. Chilled cast iron is produced by quick cooling by molten cast iron. Which cast iron has a high tensile strength and low compressive strength? Yes. White cast iron has a high tensile strength and low compressive strength. Nodule cast iron is produced by adding dash of the material casting. Manganese. Malleable cast iron is produced from white cast iron by annealing process. When elements like nickel, chromium, copper, molybdenum are added to the molten cast iron, it is produced alloy cast iron. The addition of a magnesium to cast iron increase ductility and strength in tension. Which one of the following impurities in cast iron to make it hard and brittle? Sulfur. Grey cast iron has carbon in the form of free graphite. Will filing or machining cast iron makes our hand back, then it shows that dash is present in cast iron. Free graphite. Will filing and machine casting make the hands black, then it shows that the free graphite is present in cast iron. According to Indian standard specification, the cast iron designed by FG 150 means grey cast iron with a Mg 150 megapascals as a minimum tensile strength. White cast iron has a carbon in a form of carbide, high tensile strength and low compressive strength, all of the above. According to Indian standard specification, SG 400 by 15 means which of the following impurities in cast iron promote graphite nodule formatting and increase the fluidity of the molten metal? Silicon. Which of the following statement is correct? The chilled cast iron has no graphite. Grey cast iron dash than the white cast iron. Grey cast iron is softer than the white cast iron. Spheroidal cast iron has a graphite flex. False. Which of the following display property similar to that of steel? Black hot cast iron or white hot cast iron? For the pipe fitting like elbow, T, union, etc., which of the following is preferred? Malleable iron. The percentage of carbon content in wrought iron is about 0.02. Wrought iron have it is ductile method, it can be easy to forge or weld, cannot stand and excessive shocks. Steel contain up to 0.15% carbon is known as dead mile steel. Steel contains 0 to 8 and 1.5 carbon. It is known as medium high carbon steel. High carbon steel. According to the Indian standard specification, a plain carbon steel denoted by 40 C8 means that is the carbon content 0.35 to 0.45%. The brown smoke during the operation of the Bessemer converter indicate that air is burning out silicon and manganese. The steel produced by cementation process is known as Billister steel. During the operation of Billister converter, which flame and indicate that the silicon and magnesium had burned and carbon has started oxidizing. The red flame during the operation of Bessemer converter indicate that the red flame does not occur due to the operation of Bessemer converter. In a acidic Bessemer process, the furnace is lined with a silica bricks. Which of the following process of steel making is it operation at Tata Steel and Steel Work in Jamshedpur? Dulux process. Dulux process of steel is making combination of acid Bessemer and basic open earth process. The phosphorus and sulfur in a steel making can be removed by its basic Bessemer process. Correct. The electric process of steel making is especially adopted. Alloy and carbon tool steel, magnet steel and high speed tool steel. Which of the following steel making process is being adopted at Rourkela Steel Plant? DLLD process. Silicon is added in a low carbon steel to make the steel of good bending qualities. Phosphorus is added in a low carbon steel to raise a heat point. True. Manganese is added in a low carbon steel to make the steel ductility and good bending qualities. Which of the following is added in low carbon steel to prevent them from a beginning purpose? Silicon. In low carbon steel dash resist the heat point, improve the resist to atmosphere corrosion. Phosphorus. Which of the following when used in an ordinary low carbon steel make the metal ductile and or a good bending qualities? Manganese. In a low carbon steel present of small quantities of sulfur impurities machinability. Carbon steel has a Brinell hardness number 100 should have ultimate tensile strength that's closer to 9350 Newton per mm square. Steel alloy contain 36% nickel is called Invar steel. The material widely used for making pendulum of clock is nickel steel. In high speed steel, magnesium is used to thaw the metal to increase its critical temperature. In a high speed steel, the magnet is used to tough the metal and increase its in critical temperature. The steel is widely used for making precision measuring tools is nickel steel. The small percentage of boron is added to steel it is ordered to increase hardenability. Which of the following material has nearly zero coefficient to expand in war? Chromium when added to steel dash the tensile strength increase. Vanadium when added to steel increase tensile strength. Tungsten when added to steel raises the critical temperature. The machinability of steel is improved by adding sulfur, lead and phosphorus. The presence of hydrogen in steel is cause of embrittlement. Corrosion resistance of steel is increased by adding nickel chromium. Agree. The hardness of steel increased by adding sulfur, lead and phosphorus. No. Shock resistance of steel increased by adding nickel chromium. The steel widely used for motor vehicle crankshaft chrome steel. Which the silicon steel is widely used for generator transformer in the form of laminated cores. The tool cutting are made for a high speed steel. Which of the following given the correct order to increase the hot hardness of cutting tool material? High speed steel carbide tool diamond. Killer steel are free from oxygen. Connecting rod is usually made for medium carbon steel. The alloying element which can replace tungsten in a high carbon steel is molybdenum. Free cutting steel is used where rapid machinery in the prime equipment requirement. Ball bearings are usually of chrome steel. Shock resistant steel has a toughness. The alloy manually used for corrosion resistant in stainless steel is chromium. The nut and bolt are made for a silicon steel. Wrong. The alloying element which increase residually magnetic and corrosive magnetic through force in a steel for magnet cobalt. The main alloying element high speed steel is order of increasing proportion of vanadium chromium tungsten. The blade of a power saw is made of high speed steel. The high speed steel maximum percentage of tungsten. 1841 high speed steel contain vanadium chromium tungsten chromium vanadium. Steel contain 12 to 14% chromium and 0.12 to 0.35% carbon. It is called martensite stainless steel. True. The steel contains 16 to 18% nickel and above the 0.12% carbon. It is called ferrite stainless steel. Austenite stainless steels contain 18% of chromium and 8% nickel. Mild steel, commercial beam, tool steel, blanking die, medium carbon steel screwdriver, high carbon steel crank hooks. 18 by 18 tensile strength consists 18 chromium, 8 nickel. The material is in which the atoms are arranged characteristically is called amorphous material. The material in which of the atoms are arranged regularly in some direction but not in other called which of the following irons exist at 910 degrees Celsius? Alpha iron. Which of the following iron exist 910 degree to 1403 degrees Celsius is gamma iron. Perlite is the combination of 87% perlite and 13% cementite. Yes, the hardness of steel depends upon the amount of cementite is contained. The hardness of steel increase its cementite if it is contained cementite. The steel with a 0.8% carbon, it is known as eutectite steel. Eutectite reach up to 723 degrees Celsius. A steel with a carbon dash is hypoeutectite steel below 0.8%. A steel has carbon above 0.8 hypereutectite steel. एक सीधा सिंपल फॉर्मूला है, अगर अपन बोले कि 0.8 अगर एक यूटेक्टाइड स्टील है तो अपन बोल सकते हैं कि अगर उसके ऊपर जाता है यानी 0.8% के ऊपर अगर कार्बन जाता है तो हम उसको बोलेंगे हाइपर, और अगर उस 0.8 के नीचे कार्बन रहता है परसेंटेज कार्बन रहता है तो उसको हम बोलेंगे हाइपो, तो इस तरीके से हो जाता है। 0.8% के अगर कम का कार्बन रहता है तो हमें उसे हाइपोयूटेक्टाइड स्टील बोलेंगे। अगर 0.8% कार्बन उसमें रहता है तो उसको हम यूटेक्टाइड स्टील बोलेंगे। और 0.8% से अधिक कार्बन रहता है तो हम उसे हाइपर यूटेक्टाइड स्टील बोलेंगे। The lower critical temperature increase as the carbon content in a steel increase. The lower critical point for all steels is 723 degrees Celsius. The upper critical point varies according to the carbon content in steel. Right. For steel contain 0.8 carbon, there is only one critical point. Initial consist of hardness steel is martensite. Iron carbon alloy contains 1.7 to 4.3 carbon percent is hypoeutectite carbon cast iron. Iron carbon alloy contains 4.3 percent of carbon known as a hypoeutectite cast iron wrong. Steel with a 0.8% of carbon and 100% perlite is called eutectide steel. A eutectide steel consists wholly perlite. A perlite consists of 13% cementite and 87% of ferrite. Cementite consists of 6.67% of carbon and 93.33% iron. Normalizing of steel is done to refine the grain structure, remove strand cause of cold working, remove dislocation cause in an internal structure due to hot work. Which of the following statements are true for annealing steel? Steel are heated to 500 to 700 degrees Celsius, cooling in down done slowly and steadily. Internal states are relieved. The temperature required for full annealing in hypereutectide steel is 30 to 50 above lower critical temperature. In a full annealing, the hypoeutectide steel is heated from 30 to 50 degrees Celsius above upper critical temperature. Then it's cooled in still air slowly in the furnace. Right. When the steel is normalized, its yield point increase, ductility decrease, ultimate tensile strength increase. In the ST pampering process, the heat treatment austenite change into benite. The heat treatment process used for casting is normalizing. The heat treatment process used for a softening hardness steel is tempering. In indication hardening is frequency. In indication hardening, the depth hardening is controlled by the voltage. True. In a flame hardening, oxyacetylene flame is used. True. Which of the following in the case of case hardening? Carburizing, cyaniding, nitriding. Quenching is not necessary when the hardness is done by nitriding. Induction hardening is basically a surface hardening process. Annealing, improve ductility. Nitriding, increase surface hardening. Normalizing, refine grain structure. Master tempering, mar tempering, improve the hardness of the whole mass. The machine tool guide ways are usually hardened by flame hardening. Age hardening is related to beryllium. Beryllium contained 3.5 to 4.5% copper, 0.4 to 0.7% magnesium, 0.4 to 0.7% manganese, and rest aluminium. The machinability of aluminium increased by lead and bismuth. The casting ability of aluminium increased by adding silicon. The helium is an alloy of aluminium and magnesium with the small content is chromium. Agree. Brass is an alloy of copper and zinc. Cartridge brass can be roll it into sheet, draw into wire, and form into tube. Brass is an alloy of copper. Bronze is an alloy of copper tin. Brass is an alloy of copper zinc. An alloy of copper tin is gunmetal. मुंज मेटल कंटेंट्स यानी येलो ब्रास जिसे बोलते हैं उसे 60% कॉपर और 40% जिंक. जर्मन सिल्वर इज अ कॉपर जिंक एंड निकेल 60% copper, 35% zinc, and 5% nickel. The nickel, when added to copper, improve hardness. Babbitt metal is used. Metal is a tin-based alloy. Babbitt metal contain 88% tin, 4% copper, 8% antimony. German silver contain no silver. The metal suitable for bearing subjected to light load is phosphorus bronze. The metal suitable for bearing subject to light load is phosphorus bronze. The metal suitable for bearing subjected to heavy load is white metal. Phosphorus bronze has good wearing quantities and high elasticity. The percentage of phosphorus in a phosphorus bronze is 0.1. Monal metal is an alloy of nickel or copper. Monal metal contains 68% nickel, 29% copper, and 3% other content. Which of the following metal is used in making electrical resistance wire for electric furnace? Nicorium. Which of the following metal is used for nucleus energy? Uranium, thorium, niobium. Thermosetting plastic are those material are formed into shape under the heat and pressure and result is permanently hard product. Thermoplastic material are those products do not become hard with the applying heat and pressure and no chemical changes occurs. Thermosetting plastic are molded by heat and cool and formed by the considered polymerization. PVC is a material of thermoplastic. The catalytics